On this episode, we talk about breaking 100 reviews, 3 things your website must be doing, and who is the queen of dental marketing. Hey everybody, and welcome to the 88 Dental Marketing Show. I am your host, Joshua Scott, and this is episode number 2. We're rolling right along. Hey, quick shout out to everybody who left comments last week after the initial show went up, whether it was Facebook or YouTube or just sending me texts or emails. I appreciate it. And to all of you who watched the show but didn't leave comments, I know who you are.
Justin Ross asks, where is the best place to push people for reviews? Google, Facebook?
Justin, thanks so much for leaving me that question last week in the comments, man. I appreciate the love, and it's a great follow-up question. You know, ideally, it's going to depend on the industry you're in, right? I mean, if you own a hotel, you got to be all over TripAdvisor. If you're in the restaurant business, I mean, I'm thinking Yelp is going to be one of the main places for your reviews. But dentistry being a neighborhood-based business, and so I like to talk about neighborhood marketing, like that's huge. I mean, your sign out front is huge when you're in a neighborhood and you're communicating to that neighborhood. And so because of that, man, I think Google Plus is the place to go because of the SEO implications. Look, this is a practice of ours that we work with the clients in the Bloomington area. And if you go in and search Bloomington Dentist, you're gonna see here, Liberty Family Dentistry, 97 reviews. I don't know if that works there. Let me see if we can get this up. So Liberty Family Dentistry, 97 Google reviews. And so they come up first. I mean, outside of the ads, they are the first listing. The next closest as far as reviews is 19. There's a 19, there's a 15, and there's an 11. And so what that does is they will be at the top of those Google places, those Google Plus places for a long time with 97 reviews. In fact, I mean, I know that those other guys with 15 and 19 and 11, they're chasing them. I mean, they're chasing them, and at this point may not even catch up, because we're literally 3 years into now being assertively asking for reviews. And so that's the deal right now. I mean, that right there is the deal with reviews and why we're pushing it hard, because if you don't, what's going to happen is in the next year or 2 or 3, you're going to wake up one day and see and be on Google, and all of a sudden somebody has 97 reviews and you have 15, and now you're chasing them. Now you're playing catch up. And so right now is the best time to get a review strategy in place, okay? And so, I mean, I think because of the SEO implications, Google Plus is the most important player if you're neighborhood based. I mean, you guys being a church, I still think that's huge, because people are going to search for church in your area. And so you want to be in that mix. I mean, you want to get some of that attention. And so I think that that's a huge deal. You know, Facebook is good. I see a lot of churches and nonprofits engaging on Facebook. And I think that that's fine for engaging the people, your community. But as far as a marketing standpoint, I think the majority of the weight comes with Google+.
Sean Jackson writes, we're launching into a new website project. What are the most important things we should keep in mind?
Yeah, Sean, thank you. Glad to hear you guys are launching into a new website project. That's cool. Some things to keep in mind. You know, number one, a website, first and foremost, it needs to be searched. People need to find it. And so those days of building a website and getting into this project, and then you launch it and you leave it alone for 3 to 4 years, that's like 2005 thinking, 2008 thinking. Those days are over. And so you really have to think through not just the site and it's the aesthetics of it, but you have to think through the strategy with it. Because if you're trying to win that 1 or 2 top listing on Google search, and so what is it going to take to do that? What type of strategy do you have to have? And working with a company that understands that, because so much of it is built into the structure of the site. But then also establishing a long-term plan of, we're not going to put this up and open the doors, and if we build it, they will come. But it's if we build it and continue to invest in it and continue to execute on an amazing strategy, then people will find us. And so that's definitely number one. Number two, I think, is once people do find you, why should they choose you? And so you're trying to give them that. I mean, what they find you on Google and they're looking at 2 or 3 different practices. Why do they choose you? What's the name of the practice, the domain name? What does the description say? How many, we just saw on Google, how many Google reviews do you have? You have 36 with a 4.9 star rating. It's like all those things add up to patients clicking on your practice. And so, number one, being found. Number two, why should they click on you? And then number three, once they get to the site needs to establish trust. It needs to build trust. I think the number one failure probably when it comes to people actually getting on dental practices sites is just a lack of trust, a failure in trust. And I would say things like, is there a picture of the doctor on the front page? Is there a picture of the team, the facility? What does the facility look like? Because as a patient, as a new patient walking into any new appointment, new practice, the number one thing on your mind is, what am I walking into? And so if they can get on your site and see a picture of the doctor and see that he or she is a normal looking person, and they see a picture of the staff and it looks like they're having fun and they're a great staff, and they see shots of the facility, the practice, and it just puts everybody at ease. It just makes everybody comfortable with, they know what they're walking into, because you don't want to be surprised. I mean, is this a residential home that's been converted into a practice? Is this a medical condo park, a university hospital? Is this a freestanding building that you just built? Like what am I walking into? What does the doctor look like? And what's the feel I'm getting from the practice? And I think if you can do all 3 of those things, that's really what a website is supposed to be doing.
Jason Kyle asks, since branding is so important to today's dental practice, what is the one most important piece for an office to nail? Or does it depend on the market they focus on?
Jason, thanks so much for leaving the question, man. Last week as a follow-up to episode 1. I'm so glad I can count on you to get in there and engage with me, and so thank you. Great question, right? And so it's, what is the one thing? And so the first part of that is because I get that a lot. I get the whole question of, a lot of times people don't come out and maybe say it directly, but I can tell in a roundabout way they're trying to get to that point of what's the one thing I should be doing in marketing right now. And really people, I mean, it's like they're trying to hack the game and try to figure out like what's the thing that's going to get them the most results. And so, my answer to that is always, the one thing is that there's not one thing. If there was, I probably wouldn't be sitting here doing this right now. But the truth is, in marketing, there isn't one thing. You gotta figure out what works for you and for your industry, your practice. And I tell you what, with all the practices we work with, pretty much every single one of them is different. And so it's not good or bad, right or wrong. It just is. It's the game. And so you got to know it. I mean, it can get real complex. And so, what's the one thing? There's not one thing, right? But I'm not going to leave you hanging like that. So if you were to really push me and say, Josh, I know, but what's one of the most important things out there, right? So I'll give you 2. Number one, consistency of the message. Man, I think that so much of it comes down to, if I was going to say there's one thing, is you got to be consistent with what you're saying. The look, the brand, everything is just, you would waste so much less money, marketing money and effort and energy, if everything was consistent and worked for you and helped just to spread that brand like nice and evenly, like this big warm blanket across your community or your demographic. And so number one, I would say consistency of message. But I'm going to follow that up with a real close number 2, which is content. Create content. So if consistency of message is the king, then creating content is the queen. I mean, she is the queen of marketing, especially in this day and age. And so, you know, dentistry being a service-based industry, one of the main goals is to look like, or to create the perception that you are the expert in the area. You are the go-to practice. And so if that's one of the goals, then creating content is huge, because you want to create that perception and that look of, hey, we know what we're talking about. We're the experts here. And so, I mean, you know, that's probably for a whole nother podcast, but I mean, you know, social media plays well into that, blog posting or articles. You know, we get into landing pages a lot because we're just diversifying the website and trying to highlight services and gain search and content in those areas. Video, you know, lots of different avenues for content right now, for sure. But yeah, man, I would say that those are my you know, you asked for one thing, I'm gonna give you 2. And that consistency of message is king in the marketing world, but content has gotta be the queen. Guys, thanks so much for joining us for episode 2. Had a blast with it. Hey, leave me the questions. Go down in the comments, right down below in the comment section. What are your marketing questions, man? Maybe something from this episode got you thinking, but leave me some questions. Leave me some content, man, so we can create some really great shows in the future. Question of the day. Just came off of the 2015 Grammys last night. Good show. What was your favorite performance? Guys, I'll see you next time on episode number 3.